How many of us knew of Sardar Udham Singh before the movie about him was released? Not many, despite his role in avenging the Jallianwala Bagh massacre.
As Her Majesty the Queen said before visiting Jallianwala Bagh in 1997, it is a distressing example of our past history with India.
The stories of countless heroes who fought for India's freedom have almost been forgotten in the annals of history. While history textbooks and our celebrations often spotlight figures like Gandhi and Nehru, many other freedom fighters who sacrificed immensely are either relegated to mere footnotes or overshadowed in the grand narrative of India's independence. Now, this isn't a matter of chance, but a deliberate design. The sidelining of figures like Vinayak Damodar Savarkar, who not only inspired Bhagat Singh but also penned the first war cry for Indian independence, is well documented. But honestly, was this celebrated enough? Was he given his due? And more importantly, do people even know who he is? Similarly, the contributions of revolutionaries like Rashbehari Bose, who played a crucial role in the formation of Indian National Army, are often overlooked. In the aftermath of independence, India witnessed a deliberate effort by establishment to shape a biased historiography. A concerted effort was made to project selected individuals as the leads and the rest as a supporting cast. Let us see how. In 1948, historian R.C. Majumdar had proposed an ambitious project to write an official history of the freedom struggle. This proposal was accepted by the government, and then in 1952, the Ministry of Education appointed a body to compile the history of freedom movement. Professor Majumdar was appointed as the director of this body. He was entrusted with collecting materials and preparing the draft of this history. However, this body was unceremoniously dissolved at the end of 1955. Maulana Abul Kalam Azad, India's first education minister and a key figure in Nehru's government, played a pivotal role in this sabotage. Majumdar's work, which was sometimes critical of the Congress leadership, faced immense political pressure and was finally dissolved. Now, these were the early signs of state intervention in India's historiography. Successive education ministers like Fakhruddin Ali Ahmad continued this trend. By 1956-57, the project resurfaced under a single government-appointed scholar, Tarachand. In 1967, Tarachand drafted a sanitized version which became the official history of India's freedom struggle. This marked a turning point where political interests overshadowed historical accuracy. Thanks to the direct and tacit support extended to such historical revisions, even influential bodies like the National Council for Educational Research and Training (NCERT) and the National Institute for Educational Planning and Administration (NIEPA) came to be dominated by scholars promoting a certain agenda. These bodies fell firmly under the establishment control. Independent-minded historians such as Jadunath Sarkar, R.C. Majumdar and Radha Kumud Mukherjee were systematically sidelined. Jadunath Sarkar's entire body of work was banned in history departments, and even doctoral thesis that cited his research faced rejection. Appointment of an openly Marxist, Nurul Hasan, as education minister in the Indira Gandhi regime, in 1986, he directed the states to align history textbooks as per a certain ideological program, portraying leaders like Shivaji, Chandrasekhar Azad and Rana Pratap not as freedom fighters but as rebels against civilized rulers like Akbar and Aurangzeb. The monopoly of these educational bodies persisted until scandals surfacing in these institutions like in the Indian Council of Historical Research surfaced. But today, on the Independence Day, let us take time to remember some of the countless unsung and overlooked stalwarts of our independence movement. Madan Lal Dhingra. In 1909, Dhingra shocked the world by assassinating Sir Curzon Wyllie in London, a symbol of British authority. His trial and execution not only drew international attention to the Indian independence movement, but also inspired a new generation of revolutionaries. Madam Bhikaji Cama. On the international stage, she made history in 1907 by hosting the Indian national flag at the International Socialist Conference in Stuttgart. Her bold act and advocacy for India's independence on global platforms played a crucial role in garnering international support. She also provided refuge to revolutionaries like Savarkar when they were on the run from British authorities. Rashbehari Bose. Bose was instrumental in planning the pan-Indian Ghadar uprising in 1915. He was also the leading figure in creation of Indian National Army, whose leadership he later transferred to Subhash Chandra Bose. He also worked with Japanese authorities to garner support for India's independence. Sachindranath Sanyal. Sanyal was a mentor to revolutionaries like Bhagat Singh. He co-founded the Hindustan Republican Association (HRA), which aimed to organize armed resistance against British rule. His book Bandi Jeevan became a manifesto for revolutionaries, outlining the principles and methods of armed resistance against British rule. Despite being imprisoned several times, his fear struck in the hearts of British. Birsa Munda. Birsa Munda was an Adivasi leader who led the Munda rebellion against British exploitation and missionary activities in tribal areas. Birsa is today celebrated as a hero of tribal resistance. His movement, known as Ulgulan or the Great Tumult, was a significant challenge to British rule and missionary efforts to convert Adivasis. The Chapekar brothers. Damodar and Balkrishna Chapekar were among the first to assassinate British officials in retaliation for their atrocities committed during the plague epidemic in Pune. Their assassination of W.C. Rand, the plague commissioner, marked a significant moment in the history of revolutionary activities in India. These brothers were then hanged. Surya Sen masterminded Chittagong Armory raid, inspiring future generations of revolutionaries with his daring act. His leadership and strategic planning in the raid was significant in disrupting British control in Chittagong. Kalpana Datta. Kalpana Datta was a member of the Chittagong Armory raid and fought alongside Surya Sen. She later documented the struggle, ensuring its stories were told. Her bravery in the face of British persecution highlighted the crucial role of women in the revolutionary movement, which is often seen as a movement limited to the men. Madan Mohan Malviya. Madan Mohan Malviya founded the Banaras Hindu University and was a staunch advocate for education and Indian culture, playing a key role in independence movement. Malviya's efforts in education reforms and his leadership in the Indian National Congress were instrumental in shaping the freedom struggle. Bal Gangadhar Tilak. Called Lokmanya, Tilak's call for Swaraj is my birthright and I shall have it ignited the spirit of independence across the nation. Tilak's leadership in the early phase of freedom movement and his efforts to unite people through cultural nationalism were pivotal. It was Tilak who was behind the joint community celebrations of Ganesh Utsav. He also funded the education of revolutionaries like Savarkar. Lala Hardayal. Hardayal was a founder of the Ghadar party. His writings and speeches inspired many to take up the cause of India's freedom. His efforts in organizing Indian migrants in North America were crucial in building a global support for the freedom struggle. He was also instrumental in the Hindu-German conspiracy, which was later thwarted by the British. Sri Aurobindo. Now, Aurobindo is not limited to Pondicherry and Auroville. He was also a revolutionary before he turned to his spiritual pursuits. His writings and leadership in the early phase of freedom struggle were very influential. It was him who said that nation was not just a piece of land, it embodied spirit. And then, he was also the one who personified Bharat Mata as we know today. His spiritual and political thoughts inspired many to join the independence movement. Alluri Sitaram Raju. Alluri Sitaram Raju led the Rampa rebellion against British colonial rule in Andhra Pradesh, becoming a folk hero. His guerrilla warfare tactics and leadership in the rebellion was significant in challenging British authority. Usha Mehta. Usha Mehta organized the Congress Radio during Quit India movement, providing a voice for the underground resistance. Her efforts in running an underground radio station were significant in spreading the message of resistance. Aruna Asaf Ali. Aruna Asaf Ali was a prominent leader of the Quit India movement. In 1942, it was her who hoisted the Indian flag at Gwalior Tank Maidan during the launch of Quit India movement. Rani Gadin Liu. Rani was a Naga spiritual and political leader who led a revolt against British rule in Manipur and Nagaland. Her efforts in organizing resistance and promoting tribal rights were significant. These heroes, among many others, are instrumental in the fight for India's independence. Yet, they have not been given the recognition they deserve. In recent times, efforts have been made to honor and remember these unsung heroes. For example, the renaming of islands in Andaman and Nicobar to Swaraj Dweep, Shahid Dweep, and Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose Dweep is a significant step. Birsa Munda's recognition through the celebration of Janjatiya Gaurav Divas on November 15, the renaming of airport in Port Blair to Veer Savarkar International Airport, and the Statue of Unity dedicated to Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel are other such examples. Even movies like RRR, Sardar Udham, Manikarnika, and Swatantra Veer Savarkar have helped bring these heroes back into public memory. Now, while these efforts are commendable, there is still a pressing need to revamp how the independence movement is taught in schools. More concerted efforts are needed to bring into limelight not just these freedom fighters, but also other cultural heroes of India like Shivaji, Maharana Pratap, the Cholas, Lachit Barphukan, Bappa Rawal, the Kakatiyas, the Satvahanas, the Ahoms, and several others. The history of India's independence is rich and diverse, filled with countless stories of bravery, sacrifice, and unwavering resolve. It is our responsibility to ensure these stories are revived, told, celebrated, and passed down to future generations. Here's wishing you a very happy Independence Day. This is Anmol. See you in the next one.